Waspy women betrayed by Labour is very much the theme this morning. But also, how about this? A story on the front page of The Sun. A paedophile from the same WhatsApp group as Hugh Edwards avoided jail after a solicitor argued the BBC star was not in prison. So basically, anyone who's now up before the beak and is being said to be involved in paedophile behaviour will basically say, well, you didn't send Hugh Edwards to jail, so why should you send me to jail?
Yes, this is the story of drama student Jack Davies, page 6 and 7 of The Sun. I mean, he has sick photos of babies and young boys on his phone, but he only got a suspended sentence, The Sun reports, because it was in line with what Hugh Edwards got back in September.
Right.
And his lawyer argued that, in effect, it was he said the offences were similar to what Davies appears to have done, and added a suspended sentence was imposed on that case. So in effect, because and UK law works like that, it's precedent, right?
Yes.
So if one thing happens, you look to previous cases, and a judge can't sentence out of line with what somebody else has done. Otherwise, that person's going to have
unless
a
the right you get involved in a bit of two-tier justice, like we did in the summer, right?
Yeah. So you've ended up in it. We've got a situation, right, where Jack Davies' lawyer has managed to successfully argue that because Hugh Edwards received a suspended spare jail, his client should get the same, and the judge has agreed.
And presumably that will now be the sort of the rule of law and the rule of thumb for anybody who's in the same position.
Yeah,
they'll say, well, why should I go to prison?
And that's why. The argument was at the time that Hugh Edwards should have received a custodial sentence.
Yeah.
And because it's so high profile, all of the barristers would see it. It's not buried away in some magistrate's court somewhere in the Midlands or something that nobody would ever hear about. This was front page news as a result of fantastic journalism in the Sun newspaper.
Yes.
And you can guarantee that every defence solicitor and every defence barrister in the country is well aware of it. And when they have clients in a similar situation, they're just going to say, well, we'll have the same as whatever Hugh Edwards got.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely right.
And these people, there's an argument that these people should be in prison. These are really serious offences with, huge, impacts on the victim.
But if you remember, at the time, the Sun then carried on with their impact statement because they said, surely he should have gone to jail. They then, as newspapers often do, sort of concentrated on some of the sentences that were going on around the Hugh Edwards case in the same week, and not one paedophile was sent to jail because so many of them are spared jail because, one, there isn't room to put them away, and two, they are considered by some judges to not be dangerous, even because they're only just looking at images. Well, I'm sorry. In my view, that's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to think of, these offences, they absolutely ruin lives.
And there's always a victim, right?
There's always a victim, and that the individuals who, the poor victims who are, subject to this abuse, to produce these images, those lives are ruined forever. They're devastated, and those voices don't get heard. And you end up in a situation like with Hugh Edwards, where now, you end up. It's the opposite of the deterrent, isn't it? That because you're going to be spared jail, people will think, well, maybe they could get away with it.
Yeah.
And actually, it shouldn't be the case.
No.
You should be going to prison.
No, absolutely right. I'm supposed to be sniffing around in the papers here. I'm trying to find a story about baubles because it was pointed out to me earlier, and now I can't find it. But apparently, your baubles on your Christmas tree could be harming your health. Right. Because apparently, depending on where you store them over the course of the year, they can pick up all manner of germs. Animals can be crawling all over them if they're in the loft. You could have bugs on them. And I don't know whether we're supposed to now clean baubles before we put them back on the tree.
I'll have a confession.
Go on.
I buy new baubles every year.
Do you?
Not because...
completely?
Yeah, not because... I tell you what happens every single year. I don't buy them intentionally every single year, but I lose them.
Yes.
I don't know. I put them there. The tree comes down.
There's a box.
Just like,
put them all
there's
in
a box. There's a bag.
Right.
I just shove them in some cupboard, and then it's like, right...
Where are they?
Let's put up the Christmas tree, and it's like...
Do you also do that thing with the lights, where you get the lights out, and no matter how carefully you think you put them away, you can't untangle them, and then you get them up finally, you spent about an hour untangling them, you get them on the tree, switch the light on, and it doesn't light up because one of them, the bulb is gone.
Yeah.
And so then back to the garden centre, buy another 1,000 lights or something. I mean, I find myself doing this every year.
And they know that these garden centres, they're prepared for people like you and me, Mike. They know, they can see us coming.
They know boxes and boxes of them,
20, and they have boxes of them, and they're like, 50 quid for
Here
about...
he comes. Yeah, he's back.
Here we go.
Right.
It's like, it's 50 quid. I'm like, I'm sure those lights aren't even worth 5 quid.
No.
But no, 50 quid.
Whatever.
And you're like, OK,
right.
fine.
Whatever. I was just, because I was so fed up by this point.
And the tree has to be decorated right then.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a nightmare. And so, no, I'm not affected by dirty Christmas baubles because I buy fresh ones every single year.
Yeah.
And somewhere in my house there will be about 10 bags of
clean
baubles.
and safe house then. That's good. Let's get a voice note from Adam.
Away in other countries, no thought for the old. He's taken their payments, so now they are cold. He shafted the farmers and gone back on his word. Now, Kia, please do one.
You just couldn't think of the last line.
No.
That's just the last line. Come on. I'm waiting for the last line. That was brilliant, though.
That's
Adam,
fantastic.
well done. And people are getting very creative in their hatred for Keir Starmer. We've had poems, we've had songs, we've now got a Christmas carol.
Haiku soon.
Away in a manger. I mean, it really is extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, Keir Starmer, I don't know what he can do from this point on. He's never going to get the confidence back of the nation. He's never going to get the confidence back of people who voted for him, I don't think. I think he's in a really, really terrible place.
And you end up in a situation, I was just sort of mulling this over with a friend, you end up in a situation, Mike, where you lose direction, that if it becomes impossible to see, and I think what the story of going into next year is going to be is the further rise of Reform UK and Nigel Farage. And if you remember, Rishi Sunak's government about 18 months out basically came to the conclusion that it couldn't win the next election,
right?
And then it lacks a purpose or a narrative because there's nothing to fight for.
Right.
And I think the story of next year and it will be around the rise of reform. And if Keir Starmer isn't careful, and I think this is probably the most likely outcome, is that it becomes a 5-year. It becomes widely accepted that he's only got one term in office, and that actually it's just a case of trying to do as much as he possibly can in that term according to his own agenda. But it loses its direction and its reason to exist.
And without any support, because there's nothing really that he's doing that's got any support at all.
No.
And as you say, it ceases to have any kind of reason to it.
And then people just,
and
then he just sort of gives up. And
Right.
it just is. And the problem with Sunak's government for certainly the last year was it was just sort of listless. It was just sort of there.
And I always
really
said the thing about the Tory government in sort of in its passing was that it didn't do very much, whereas this lot are doing things which are actively harming the economy. But Theo, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. If I don't see you before Christmas, have a good one.
And to you,
and good luck with the baubles and the lights and all the rest of it.